Hi, Jerht Santos here of the Coach PH. Remember to click the subscribe button to be updated with our latest videos.
Edmund, do you maintain separate journals for different markets? Let's say for the Philippine market, for the Hong Kong market, for the US market, or is it just one journal for everything?
Just one Excel file, but I just journal lang.
Okay.
So at least everything's like in terms of data consolidated.
Do you analyze it per country? Because in the Philippines, we have higher commission.
Yeah, usually for me, Philippines, Hong Kong, and then IB for US.
Okay.
Hong Kong kasi may commission din kami.
Okay. And then before you enter a stock, do you only enter it if it has a potential risk-reward ratio of greater than 3? For example, let's say there's a stock. If it's above 4, that's when you're going to enter.
To me, anything less than 2 is like a coffee trade money. So if my target is like 1:2 risk-reward, which is still reasonable, I'll still take it, right? How I look at it is still just coffee money. Parang ganun. So I'll take it, but I mean, my expectations is just 1:2. Parang ganun. Right? Now, those are what I call coffee money trades, just standard sizing and everything. Where your VAR starts to increase or your position size starts to increase is that when you're starting to see something that's 1:5, sometimes 1:10, then you tend to bet a lot more and increase your VAR.
To be more specific, for example, if you see it's a coffee money trade or 1:2, you put in 0.5 bar, 0.5%.
Yeah, parang ganon. Yes.
Okay. And then when you see something na, okay, ito malaki yung risk reward potential, and then you go 1%.
Yep. 1, sometimes 2 or 3%. But it also, how I see that 1:5, 1:10 is not just on technical analysis, meaning for you to see the runway. That's where fundamentals and my background comes into play. But don't get me wrong. Many times you'll make a lot of mistakes.
Speaking of runway, Edmund, from my understanding and from my observation from you guys, for example, I think fundamental plays a great role. I saw this with DNL before. I saw this with SCC. You saw the runway, but you were in and out of the stock in different periods of time. And would you say it's fundamental that really drives that strategy?
Let's talk about Semirara today. I think Semirara is a good example because, if I look at Semirara in the business today, I think they can make over $1 billion in profit. So that's around 50 billion pesos in coal profits. What I usually tell people in the public is that they can probably make, like, if they make 20 billion pesos, they'll probably be at 35 to 40 pesos per share. Parang ganun, right? In reality, that's my conservative number. My real number is around $1 billion, which is around 50 billion pesos. So that's 2.5 times more. So in my mind, I think like Semirara can go as high as $50 per share, even more, right? Which is still far away from today's price. Diba? But when I look at share price action and right, I try to hold as much as I can, but I always have those rules into play. So let's say, for example, it's been momentum and it's gone up so much already. Diba? So momentum, like our trail is usually at the 5 or the 10-day EMA. Because it's gone up so much, we're just trailing at the 5-day EMA. Right? So I'm still sticking to the system. If it pulls back, then I have the confidence to bet again when it reaches or quiets down. Right? So the reason why we removed it, because we're willing to buy back naman eh. Diba? But I don't want to afford to make a mistake because remember, when things are up so much, and even though there's still upside potential, kahit papaano, diba? Your room for like a huge sell-off can be like, perfect example, like what happened with Converge and MONDE, diba? Already ADX 60, already ADX 70. You know it's super extended in the short term. You're always susceptible to a huge sell-off. Diba? And that's the reason why, But don't get me wrong. We're looking to come back in. So I don't mind, like, let's say it doesn't go down. Example today, it doesn't go down. And then bumalik lang, and it goes higher, and it starts to break out. For me, I'd rather miss that 4 or 5% or 10%. But at least, I get in and it still goes higher. So I'm not afraid to lose. It's the same thing with resets. Meaning I'm willing to sacrifice that 10, 20% just for it to tell me it wants to go up rather than trying to maximize it in every single point in time. Kasi kailangan ako yung lowest point? No, I don't think of it that way. I try to think I want to be at the best time, not at the lowest point.
Going back to your STC example, I remember the first ever trade, I think was, I can't remember, it was 6 or 8 or 10 pesos. So at that moment in time, did you already have that foresight? Okay, it can reach $1 billion in profit.
$1 billion at that point? No.
No.
But was it worth like 20 at that time to 30? The answer is yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I always tell people things change,
right?
Because as it goes higher, I'll tell you all the good news start to appear. And then you get to add more info, and then you start to realize this is probably worth more. Ganun naman parati yung stock market. And then when coal prices, like 6 months, 1 year later, supply now comes out, and then coal prices fall from $250 per ton and falls down back to $100 per ton. I'll tell you that price is going to go back down for sure. No questions asked, right? So everything is hindsight. I mean, I can give you the answer, but I mean, I wouldn't know how long that would be accurate.
For someone who has read books authored by Mark Minervini, William O'Neill, Nicholas Darvas, how were setups like, VCP, cheat, cup and handles, double bottoms, flag, Darvas boxes integrated into the FTSR framework?
Yeah, great question. I mean, Darvas boxes, we usually characterize like our process based on 3 things. First is, what is price telling you, whether it's going up or going down, which is obviously the trend. Second question that we ask people is that, are you in magnitude or are you in duration, right? So if you look at duration, Darvas has Darvas boxes. Mark Minervini has VCPs for duration. We just call it all durations in consolidations, to be honest. Some people like to use symmetrical triangles, rectangles, boxes, ascending triangles. I mean, I don't want to think of these stuff anymore. When I look at it, all I know is that I just see duration. Parang ganun. You can describe all the boxes, diamonds, whatever. I'm not going to argue with you what you see, right? Because I mean, you can have many arguments about all these different patterns. All I want to see is the price. Is it in magnitude or is it in duration? That's all I want to look at.
But how about double bottoms, cup and handles? So are those counted as durations?
Yeah. So let's say, for example, like double bottoms, we're looking at reversals. The same case. So usually you have that exhaustion and then that retest. So we're playing the reversals. The magnitude leg is done. For VCPs, we're just looking at durations. We call them coils or we call them resets.
Right.
But it just depends on the length. So we look at it same angle. I mean, from that end.
So it's a matter
cup and handles usually are duration patterns.
It's just really a matter of terminology, but the concepts behind those setups are pretty much the same.
Look, how many cup and handles have you seen? If I go through like 1,000 stocks today, you probably see like very few cup and handles, like exacto ng cup. It's very difficult, right? So for me, it's more understanding what the big picture is telling you. It's the same case. I mean, we incorporate a lot of hit and run strategies, and it's a very good book on hit and run. Rarely do they explain the logic about those setups. So for example, like slingshot, boomers, and whatsoever, right? If you read the book on hit and run, they're very precise. Kailangan 2 days. Kailangan 3 days. They're very specific, right? In my mind, they all tell me the same thing, whether 1 day, 2 days, or 3 days. Basta within like 1 to 3 days, they're all telling me the same thing. Parang ganun. Right? So that's how we approach it. Because for us, it's what price or what the logic is telling you. Diba? I mean, if it takes 1 day and then goes up higher, okay, great. Eh, paano kung 2 days? Would that change your mind? Technically, pareho lang naman eh. Right? So that's why we try to not box things into very specific categories instead of trying to have that flexibility and that leeway. Right? But I mean, we didn't do anything new. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. Huh? We're just copying what these guys have already taught us, and then we're just trying to look at it from a better angle, a better perspective.
In terms of strategy and execution, what are the commonalities and difference when you trade different markets? For example, say US market versus the Philippine market.
Yeah, great question. US is so much more efficient. So if it breaks out, and will continue to go higher. And we usually call these things as they'll just channel and then they'll just creep up higher every single day. So go up, go down, go up, go down. But overall, it's going to head higher, right? So it's very different. Philippines and emerging markets, I'd probably say Hong Kong a little bit, is more inefficient. So what do I mean is that you look at earnings in the US, pag earnings gap up na yan or gap down eh. Sa Philippines, mag-iisip pa yung mga tao eh. Kung pangit ba, maganda ba talaga? It takes time for the market to realize. For example, like Semirara or coal. If this was a US company, that stock price would have been like 40 pesos per share na, parang ganun, right? Which we've seen with some of the coal companies, right? It probably take a shorter amount of time. So for Semirara to go down from 40 to what? 7 pesos? Sabihin na lang natin 10, diba? It took it like 2.5 years, 3 years to go down, diba? In the US, baka 1 year, nasa 410 na yan eh. At the same case, even going higher, it would have been much faster if it was in the US. Right? So it is what it is. But the good part about Philippines is because it's so inefficient, there's opportunity for us. That's what we like. Diba? Yung mga earnings, MSCI, wala yan sa US. Sa Philippines, may malaking tulong pa eh, diba?
So it's a matter of expectations.
Yeah, pretty much. But in terms of setups, I mean, our setups are still the same. It's just differences in how the price should move.
I mean, in terms of the length, the holding period, is it much shorter usually for US because it's more efficient?
Maybe, yes. Maybe in general, yes. I still have a very good holding period in the US, but I do agree that it's normally shorter than like in the Philippines. Like I've held a stock in the Philippines for a very long time, more than a year. I don't remember the last US stock I've done that with. So I'd probably say yes on that question.
What are the books that significantly made a difference in your trading career?
You know, the funny part is I'm not a fan of both, but if I had to say that two of them, it's Mark Minervini, because he was the only person that was able to incorporate fundamentals and technicals in a book. I don't know any other book that incorporated both. So he's one of the very few ones. So Mark Minervini's Trade Like a Stock Market Wizard, number 1. And number 2 is One Good Trade by Mike Bellafiore. I'm not sure if I can say this, but you know, I mean, whatever. It is what it is. I mean, but it's a very good book. Let me be honest with that. It's a very good book. So I usually look at stuff, meaning you want to be intentional in every single thing that you do. You look at all your trades and the reason for the One Good Trade, the book, is because if you look at all your trade, sometimes you could wipe out those unnecessary trades. So let's say you do 10 trades and you don't journal, but if you journal, you look at it, parang ba't ko ginawa to? Why did I buy this stock? Why did I buy these 2 stocks? And then it's a reoccurring experience with you. And then if you can take it out of your system, those 1 or 2 bad trades could actually lead you into a profitable trader if you think about it. Or you could have saved so much because bakit ko pa ginagawa to? Parang wala namang kwenta tong trade na to eh, diba? That's the purpose of really of One Good Trade. That's why I like One Good Trade.
It goes back to what you said earlier. If you're able to increase your hit ratio from 35 to 40, that's a big thing. And you can do that by eliminating that, diba? Something you're constantly doing.
Yep.
Last question. What would be your advice for new traders?
2 things. I mean, hard work is not enough in this industry. Hard work, yes, is very important, but you need to be very keen to being open-minded, disciplined. I mean, this is a requirement for high-level individuals who really, really want to do it. And it's a very difficult and a very, how would I put it, punishing industry. So you have to be very open to learning as much as you can and making those mistakes and trying to solve it at a very short amount of time. The reason why, it's because the more you commit the same mistakes, you'll end up in quicksand. And the more things you do, you'll end up drowning faster, right? So instead of, and try to look at stuff from a bigger picture, my last advice. You know, it's easy to see how much we can make in a short amount of time. But if you're here for the short term and your system is only built for now, right, you'll get wiped out in a short amount of time also. So try to look at stuff from a long-term point of view. Even though your system is in a short-term perspective, try to look at things as this long lifetime career. And I'll tell you, it will pay off the moment that you understand it. And sometimes you're actually closer than you are to actually becoming profitable in case you're giving up.
Thank you for those pieces of advice, Edmund. I learned so much from our interview, and I'm sure a lot of people who watch this video also learned a lot from you. So thank you very much again.
I appreciate everything, Jerht. Thank you so much.
If you like this video, please click the like button and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.
To get a copy of Edmund Lee's book recommendations, the links are available in the description box. If you have any questions in this video,
please feel free to comment below.
Thank you for watching. Click the subscribe button and see you on our next video. God bless you!